Would you say in this economy, renting is keeping people from actually building wealth?
If you are not taking the difference between the amount of money you would be paying for the house or the apartment you are staying in against the amount of money you should have been paying, and take that difference and save it or invest it, then your renting is making someone else rich.
So for people that maybe considering rental property, do you think it's a realistic solution for them? So can they build a rental property and then use that rental property to actually pay the rent that they have
For themselves.
for themselves?
Okay, yeah. No, for sure. Because if you're using that smart move where I'm saying you can stay in a place where you're paying less, because of right now, with the knowledge I know, I could rent out my primary residence and go and stay in a rental place. Because for the same house, I could actually stay in the same house and pay less because I'm renting.
Would you say in this economy, renting is keeping people from actually building wealth?
I'd say no. I'd say, maybe let me say yes and no. Two things, because it's your reason. That because of, some people are just doing stuff. They don't have
An intention.
they are not, it's not an informed decision that makes them do that. It's just a matter of, it's what
As long
makes
as I'm
sense
living,
right now
yeah.
based on what everybody else says. But if you're renting in this economy, firstly, yes, I would say someone who's renting is benefiting because the values of houses are definitely higher. Interest rates now were going down, which means it was actually becoming, interest rates were going down, the rent was becoming stronger, the economy generally has just been good. So that means the value of houses was going up. Now, it's not easy then to enter the market when the value of houses or the prices of houses are going up, because of it means the person who's buying, their affordability has to be high as well, because of, in order for you, you have to show that you can actually take care of the repayment of all different things, because of if the value of the house goes up, your rates and taxes go up, because of the municipality is going to use the value of your house in order for them to charge rates and taxes on that particular house. So all of these things link together. Then also you've got now interest rates going up again. You've got fuel and all the other things playing a role. In a long and short, renting could save you now, because you won't have to pay rates and taxes, you won't have to pay levies and all of those other things that I've actually mentioned. So it saves you on your month to month. However, in the long run, for sure, it does not serve you well, because if you are not taking the difference between the amount of money you would be paying for the house or the apartment you are staying in against the amount of money you should have been paying, and take that difference and save it or invest it, then your renting is making someone else rich.
If they are renting. So can they build a rental property and then use that rental property to actually pay the rent that they have
For themselves.
for themselves?
Okay, yeah. No, for sure. Because if you're using that smart move where I'm saying you can stay in a place where you're paying less, because of right now, with the knowledge I know, I could rent out my primary residence and go and stay in a rental place. Because for the same house, I could actually stay in the same house and pay less because I'm renting. The owner of the house I'll be renting from, if they are still owing the bank, they will be paying more than me.
Okay.
Do you get my point?
Okay.
So there's a saving in me staying in the same house. I could have been paying for everything because of, just imagine now, my primary residence, instead of me owning it and paying all the costs that I'm paying, I pass those on to someone who's going to be renting.
Okay.
Then I go and rent somewhere else, and then I pay less.
Yeah.
For sure, I'm going to be chipping in on the other side because of they are paying less, just like I'm paying less on this side. To get my point? So it's a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
However, my use of this again comes back to it only becomes beneficial if I am using the difference between what I'm paying and what I could have been paying
For the,
smartly. That means I take that difference and invest it. So if I'm renting out my primary residence and I go and I rent a place to stay, that difference between what I am paying where I'm staying and what I could have been paying if I was staying in the house that I own, I take that difference and I could actually invest it back here.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So it actually means that I am fast tracking my equity in this house that's mine, whilst I don't have equity in the rental property that I'm staying in.
Sure.
The rental property that I'm staying in is only helping me in reducing my month-to-month expenditure. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to keep asking you guys that. But
No,
makes
yeah.
sense.
So for someone paying rent with their salary right now, what
Yeah.
is their first step? What is the first step they can take into property investing?
I'd say firstly they must look at what is their intention, because I think planning plays a huge role. If I keep going back because I'm learning in retrospect. I look back and I'm like, I have so many things I know that I could have done differently.
Sure.
If I could look back right now at how I could have done this had I known what I know now, I would have probably put away money during the time I didn't have a commitment towards a property that's mine, right? Because of before you go and buy a house, you want to make sure that you have enough cash flow to cover the monthly expenses of that house, right? Okay. So if someone has a salary right now, they either renting or staying at home, I would say ask yourself, firstly, do you have to own a property?
But I believe that if I own it, then ownership is money.
Ownership is money. That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say sometimes.
It depends, because again, I can give you tons of examples of people who bought wrong. It's subjective. Yeah. If you buy wrong, that is something that you can't reverse, right? Unless you go and you sell at a loss, because that again could expose you unnecessarily. That's what I'm saying. You must sit down with yourself. There's no strategic decision that can be taken overnight. You have to make sure that you've taken all the pros and cons into effect and into account. Because when you're going to buy a property, ask yourself, am I ready? Everybody feels ready when they are not in the situation. If you're feeling like, okay, I normally have 2,000 rands or 3,000 rands extra on a monthly basis, and you feel pumped up and you're thinking you have a lot of money. Nah, you don't have a lot of money until you start committing. Because you must remember, whenever you go into property, it's a long-term commitment. So whatever effects that you're having that are drastic or that could be negative, you must have a minimum of about, let's just say minimum 3 years into it, because of you start seeing changes in about 3 to 5 years, if not 7, depending on how bad things were.
But do I need to be ready if I'm going to get someone to stay in that property and they are the ones that are going to be paying the rent?
So, okay, so now we're talking about, you've asked someone who wants to buy a property to rent it out. Again, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because even there, check such things as how much rental do I expect from the property that I'm going to buy? Because again, this buying right and buying wrong is very important. Because if you buy a property that's going to demand from you 10,000 rands in order for you to cover your payments on a monthly basis, because of the price that's set by the seller, because remember, it's the seller and the buyer, then you can, but you are only guaranteed the rental of about 5,000 rands. Then you want to be very careful there, because that means you have a 5,000 rands to cover. Do you get my point?
Okay.
That's why these things, you really need to make sure that you take the time and do your investigation to ensure that firstly you're ready, because over and above you getting rental income, there's a risk of you not getting rental income because you don't have a tenant. You must be ready to cover that. You must be ready to cover when the tenant is there and they're not paying. So the eventualities of being in the space are actually enormous, but you just need to make sure that you can cover those risks. So that's why sometimes they're financial, sometimes they're not financial. So it's those things you need. Otherwise, we always touch on the positive things where we're saying, it's going to be the growth of the... Listen, one of the things that run people out of business is normally lack of cash flow. Right? What cash flow means is what you have on a month-to-month basis. You could have a good asset, but if that asset is good in the long term, but you don't have money to get by on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to survive.
So do you think that's something that's also sort of killing Airbnbs for the owners of the Airbnbs?
So Airbnbs have different complications. I haven't yet comprehended all of them.
Yeah.
But I think some of the things that Airbnbs could be struggling with, because of Airbnbs should actually make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you have an option to have a lot of people bringing in money on a daily basis.
Sure.
And your turnaround is quicker than someone who's actually having long-term stays.
Yeah.
Long-term stays are paid on a monthly basis. Airbnbs are paid on a daily basis.
Sure.
And even you could actually get paid twice or more for one day, depending on what people are using the property for.
Sure.
Now, the issue shouldn't be cash flow unless you bought in the wrong place. Again, very important. You must check what is the flow when it comes to Airbnbs in the area you're trying to buy in.
Okay.
Because, for example, Sandton, good place
Sure.
because of, again, it depends what building are you going to buy in. But Sandton has most corporates in there. You've got people flying in and out internationally and nationally who are attending meetings here and all of those things. So that's a good place. But then you need to make sure that also the pricing is good. You need to make sure that, so it's quite a number of things that you have to take into account. Yeah. But then people who have not done their research well, they normally struggle.
I mean, which research? Because I have Mr. Menti. Mr. Menti is telling me this. So I trust Mr. Menti. So
that's where the problem is at. When I tell you, because of listening to information that empowers you concerning a particular store of money. Because what we're talking about here, we're talking about a store of money.
Yeah.
Stores of money is different instruments. Someone who talks about shares, and they're not going to tell you what shares to buy unless they are your financial advisor.
Sure.
Right? Sure. Now, that means they have to be qualified to advise you. They are different from someone who educates about shares.
Yeah.
Like Warren Buffett is great at educating about shares, right? But he's not going to tell you at this point you should buy S&P 500 or not.
Yeah.
And you can't hold him accountable for giving public information when he says, I became rich because I invested in shares.
Sure.
That's his story.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was good for him doesn't mean it's going to be good for you.
Sure.
Because there's information he possessed that you don't.
Yeah.
So you can't just hear one liner from him over one podcast or over one advert and you think, I'm going because Warren Buffett said it. Yeah, really. And you can't even hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Whilst with a financial advisor, one, you pay them to make sure that they advise you accordingly. You can then hold them accountable when things don't go the way. Again, financial advisors don't guarantee you that this thing's going to do well.
Yeah.
They are just going to tell you that they're going to be there to make sure that when you want to withdraw your money, even if it's lost, they can actually help you with that. So that means at least there's a reliability in terms of what you're putting your money towards, but they don't guarantee you performance.
So if I have money to purchase a rental property cash, right, would you advise something like that? Or would you advise that I actually borrow money so that I can actually pay for the place?
Now, let me answer you at least precisely on that one. So because on the other ones, I was very subjective.
Yeah.
You know, my advice on this
And
has always been, if you are buying a rental property and you are actually trying to make sure that you make the best out of the money you're going to get back, it's better to use the bank's money if you have access to it. Why? Because there is a tax incentive on that. All right? What do I mean by that? One, if you buy that property cash, here's one thing I'm gonna make an example so that everybody can relate with this. If I buy R1 million worth of a property that I'm going to rent out, and I buy it cash, and I make 10,000 rands from that property on a monthly basis, right? I'm making 120,000 in a year. That's 10,000 by 12. Now, of that, if I am not paying, let's just say I'm not paying any rates and taxes, if I'm paying rates and taxes, let's just say I'm paying 1,000 rands. It's not in a complex, so I'm not paying levies. So that 1,000 rands is my sole expense in that particular. So I've got 12,000 rands out of the 120,000 that I'm making. That is an expense. So I'm left with 108,000 rands. on which SARS is going to tax me on. Now, if I am on a 45% bracket and I'm earning that 108,000, let's just say I'll be actually taking I'm just going to try and make an example now around that. 108, let's just say 100,000. Let's just say I'm left with 100,000. So 55,000 rands is going to be my income. Okay. 45,000 rands goes to SARS.
45?
Yeah. Because that's 45% of the 100,000. That is going to be my rental income.
Yo, why so much money?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. So that's because the financing you are using in this situation is very imperative when it comes to the tax effect. It's a system. No, there's no beating around the bush. Now, anyone who's going to tell you otherwise is either they're going to beat the system by doing some fraudulent thing, ask you to pay them cash or whatever. Right there's a problem as well. But if ever we're saying everything is done the way it should be, but or plus minus 45,000 off your hard-earned 100,000 rands from your rental income will actually go to SARS because you have decided to pay cash. But if you've decided to take the same opportunity and you go to the bank with your money, you do have $1 million rands in your bank account. You're not losing your liquidity.
Sure.
You go to the bank and you say to the bank, listen, I want you to fund this. I'll pay you over time. There's interest. Yes. The interest is there for you to save on the taxes that I've just told you now. Now, if you have that very same 10,000 rands you're making and then you actually you get the bond from the bank and then let's just say you pay the bank 9,000 rands on a monthly basis.
Sure.
Let's just say of that 9,000 rands 8.5, let's just say 8,000. I'm trying to work with numbers that are not going to make it too difficult for me now. 8,000 rands is about is actually your interest on that. Now that 8,000 out of the 10,000 rands is actually tax deductible. That means it reduces your 12,000 rands income, your 10,000 rands income to only 2,000 rands income. It's the same 10,000 rands you're making, but now to SARS you are only making 2,000 rands.
Okay.
Do you get my point? So you are making 2,000 rands. Multiply that by 12 is 24,000 rands. Instead of you being taxed on 120,000, you are now taxed on 24,000 rands.
A year, anyway.
A year.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? Because that is a tax planning strategy. It's not about, I hear all this social media hoo-ha that everybody's like, this one is going to get us bound in debt. Well, if you have any other way of beating the taxman, come around and then let's see how you actually work around that.
Yeah.
It's not to say people must be bound with debt because
Sure.
if you have the money available, you are not losing the money that you have, but you are reducing the money that you're losing unnecessarily because you're bleeding on the other end. So instead of you bleeding the 45,000 rands, how about you take part of that 45,000 rands and build the capital by actually taking the bank's money? You actually reduce those taxes and then you can actually pump that money back into that bond, and then you can actually build your equity again quicker, and then see how refinancing work, see how you actually get to buy another property. Do the very same thing. Okay. Your cash flows are increasing. You're reducing your taxes. You actually you build it. Yeah, you can repeat it, or you can actually do it until you get to the point where you can actually say, okay, this debt, because of, again, when we're going to look at the accounting side of things, there are certain ratios that helps you understand that you can take so much debt. There's your gearing, which is, I don't want to get complicated, but it's a guide as to how much debt can you take and it still be safe for you to not be insolvent or to be liquidated. Now, that might get a little bit complicated. Being insolvent, it's when you actually don't have enough cash to actually run your day-to-day business or to cover your debt. Okay. So you actually just have to make sure that you guard against that, because that can run you out of business.
So, Mr. Menti, say I have, listening to you now, I have perhaps, let's say, 100,000.
Yeah.
Should I go to an investor or can I do it on my own?
If you have 100,000,
100,000.
and what do you want to do with
Yeah,
100,000?
I want to own a property, rent it out,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Should I go to the bank or go to a property investor?
Well, if you have 100,000, that's good. It could be good for a deposit, right? It will
Yeah.
reduce your monthly repayments. But
Sure.
then you also still need to show that you can afford
Yeah.
what's going to be left of the debt that you're going to take from the bank. You can go and put that 100,000 as a deposit, but then you're going to have to make sure you can show if you have a job, that job will show the bank that I can still afford the remaining amount
Sure.
with my month-to-month
Okay.
repayments, as much as there will be rental income that's coming in.
Deposit.
Yeah.
What if I want to purchase 100,000 a property for 100 valued at 100,000? Is it possible?
Yeah, well, it's your choice. If you want 100,000 rands worth of
Yeah.
it, then that tells you how much you're going to make out of that property. It's fine.
Mr. Mendy, you didn't say. What about the property investor? Should I go to the bank or the property investor? Which is better? I know it's subjective, but
Yeah. When you
with
say
that 100,000,
no, don't
yeah.
wait. I'm trying to like when you're talking about a property investor, a person like me.
Yes.
No, don't come to me with your 100,000.
No. I'm not saying because they are going to come.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it as perhaps you know somebody who's a property investor, and then you'll be like, I should go to Josh if Josh is a property investor, and then we talk it amongst ourselves and figure out, or should I just go to the bank?
You see, the thing is, you're giving me complicated questions. I can't give you one-liner answers. But here's what I'm trying to. I hear what you're asking. One, you want to make sure that you do things that are
Beneficial.
no, loss-proofed in a way.
Okay.
When you're coming to things that have to do with investment.
Sure.
You don't want to go. You can even. I'm talking about me now.
Yeah.
If you come to me with 100,000, I am not the loss-proof option for you, because if that 100,000 rands doesn't get you what you were thinking you were going to get by coming to me, you are going to struggle to get that money from anyone from anywhere else, right? Because we don't have a contract that's binding.
Yeah.
I am not guaranteeing you anything, and there's nothing that we've signed that actually says to you, I'm the viable option for you to give 100,000 to. But you can go to the bank. That's what I'm saying. Go to the bank and tell the bank, I want to buy that property. If it's 100,000 rands worth of a property, you don't need the bank. But
Bank.
yeah, well, you have 100,000. Unless you want to use the strategy I'm saying, where you're going to the bank to take that money because you want to cover for tax purposes. That's one thing.
I can still do that.
You can still do
With
that.
100,000.
For sure. You have the 100,000. Sure. The bank will see, and then they wouldn't mind giving you the money. Sure. But then I'm then saying, so on that one, you actually don't need you don't need the bank per se. It's only optional. But then going to a property investor, you can go to property investors that you are probably you trust to be good at co-ownership, for example. Okay. Let's just say you've got someone who has projects that go on, and that person is normally willing to co-own part of their properties. Then they say, yeah, if you bring 100,000 rands, we're buying 1 million rands worth of a property that's going to make us so much over this period of time. You bring in that 100,000, we buy this property together. You own a part of that.
Okay.
One of the things is that you share risk there. That's a nice thing. You share risk because whatever happens there, you're not alone. You're not bearing the whole cost of running that business. Also, you are not carrying the burden should something happen or go wrong in that property. You've got these other people that you can actually share that risk with. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Mr. Mendy, not to waste your time because you have to be somewhere. Thank you so much for pitching through. And yeah, we're going to have a lot more episodes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks, Jens. Always a pleasure.
Sure.
All right.